going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Smooth Podcast, simply motivating others onward through hope. Here to the left of me, I have Sadiq Davies. How you doing, man?
What's going on, baby? How you doing, man?
Cooling, brother. Cooling.
Thank you.
So I really wanted to talk about this whole real estate Rico case, and I wanted to have someone with the real estate expertise to help me kind of comb through what's really going on, so I can articulate myself in a somewhat knowledgeable manner. Even though I do prefer just being the fan outside laughing at everything, I do want to kind of like be knowledgeable about what I'm saying as well. Before we really get started, do you want to just tell the people out there where you were born and raised and how you kind of like got into real estate? Definitely.
So what's going on, guys? My name's Sadiq, for most of you guys who know me, and for those who really know me, you guys call me Deek for short. You know, pretty much the way I typically explain to people in terms of where I was born and where I was raised. Nigerian born, American raised. You know what I mean? Been in this country since the age of 5. And just grew up out here all my life pretty much. And, you know, my parents migrated to Oklahoma when they came here. So when I came, I migrated to Oklahoma with them as well. And then probably about a couple of years later, we shifted up north to the East Coast. You know what I mean? So we've been living in Rhode Island, since the late 80s for the most part, you know. And from there, you know, just grew up, worked in different industry, was doing manual labor for a while as an adult, and from there went to Johnson & Wales, and from there started working in the auto industry. One of my closest friends got me doing sales, got me a job doing sales in the auto industry. So I was working in the auto industry for about a decade.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then from there, after I got into it with the GM at the last dealership that I was working at, and we parted ways from that. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for that next journey of mine, that next chapter. And mind you, 2017, prior to me really diving into real estate, I was still in the auto industry. My son was born. So I was supposed to actually do real estate at that time. But I was promoted to become a finance manager in the auto industry. So I was doing finance. So I let the real estate career passed me by because obviously the promotion in finance, and on top of that, my son having like multiple brain surgeries at that time. You know, so and fast forward a couple years, that's when I parted ways with the dealership that I was with last. And then when we parted ways, I remember walking through my door at my house. I was like, damn, what am I going to do next? You know, so I was processing the whole thing for a little bit. And then it just finally dawned on me, man, I was going to do real estate in 2017. Let me pick that up, you know, because I wanted to do something where I didn't feel like, you know, I was being held back. You know, I wanted to control my own growth, you know, and all that. So I was like, all right, cool. Let's get back into real estate. You know what I mean? So got back into real estate, and took me 4 tries before I even passed the test. And once I passed on the fourth try, that's when everything just started popping off.
And what are some accolades that you can share to kind of like, I guess, prove, for lack of a better term, that, you know, you're one to talk about what we're about to talk about on this podcast?
I think pretty much I've been in the game going on 4 years now, actually. And one of the things about me is like I try to understand what's going on in the industry, right? I focus a lot of my attention in trying to help clients buy and sell real estate. That's what real estate is, right? And then on top of that, in some circumstances, I will help individuals find rental properties, you know. And a lot of what I do per se is I try to educate individuals through social media, through content creation. I think that's pretty much, if you know me, that you'll know that's my niche, that's my space, that's what I do. So I bring value through real estate, through that space, you know, through content creation. And it's allowed me to be able to be where I'm at today. You know, a lot of my business come from individuals who sees my content on social media, who respects what I do, and the type of information that I share and provide to those on that's looking to have some sort of understanding in regards to what the real estate game is all about. You know what I mean? So yeah, and that's basically the space that I'm in. I'm more of a social media content creator, but more so providing value to those individuals that, I don't want to say less fortunate, but who don't have that understanding for what real estate is really about. You know, I try to be as real with it as possible when it comes to that.
Yeah. And now a lot of people that were kind of tiptoeing into real estate, not showing if they should get into it, not sure if like how deep of a dive they should do. They're hearing this DJ Envy, Cesar Pina thing, and they're saying, "Oh, see, this is why I never got into it. Stuff's a scam," things like that. So I really wanted to take this episode and really dive into the nooks and crannies of what's happening with them, as well as like what people should be worried about, what people shouldn't be worried about, and what we can all learn from this situation. Yeah. So Cesar Pina was he did flip houses in the beginning. He was, you know, if you don't know what flipping houses means, it means you purchase a property that you know, is undervalued or needs a lot of work to do. You rehab it, you put money in, and then you sell it for a profit. He was doing that in the beginning. Envy then takes him on the Breakfast Club. They do a bunch of flip deals together. It seemed to be profitable. And then they kind of took a show on the road and started doing seminars. And at these seminars, they would, you know, say, "Hey, you know, we've done this. We can do this for you." Cesar was guaranteeing 30% return on, you know, your money. However, currently he's facing tens of millions of dollars lost, just vanished. So to kind of bring it to the beginning, where did you see a red flag in all of this?
Man, so it's funny because I really didn't see a red flag till things stopped popping off recently. So mind you, right at the top of what year when 2023, I think at the top of 2021 it was, or 2022, they just purchased massive amount of properties across Jersey. I forgot, I know it was like 1 point something or something crazy like that. And I was like, damn, these dudes are buying mad property, tons of properties all across Jersey. I'm like, shit. And I'm like thinking like, yo, they have the investors behind them. DJ Envy has the money, you know. Then on top of that, DJ Envy's network, you know what I mean? It's just massive. So by them connecting together, you know, I take it that's probably how they bought all those properties, and then promising individuals a pretty return on it, right? And let's say you put in $100 grand, $200 grand, 30% return is not bad. On top of that, if you really think about the math behind it, right? I don't think it's bad at all. And you know, so as they're making all these promises and stuff like that, I'm like, damn, these dudes are really about to kill the game, especially out in Jersey, you know. And I wanted to, because of that situation that they had going on when they purchased all that property, I was like, damn, I want to bring them down to my second seminar at that time, which was called the Build Your Wealth Seminar. I was like, yo, they'll be great individuals to actually bring onto the seminar and talk about the development and the investing side of real estate. But then I was kind of like a little nervous because I wasn't too sure where the market was going. You know, I was nervous to even do that seminar. And then, boom, we get hit with this situation, you know, scamming, taking people's money, not giving a return back of their money. The people the average people that, you know, that works hard to earn a living was actually investing in them as well. And these are individuals that, you know, were investing six figures, you know, and a lot of them is probably their retirement money or whatever that looked like for them. You know what I mean?
So there's a lot of catchphrases in real estate. So there's a lot of people that deem that they're into real estate, but that can really mean a plethora of things. For one, you could flip houses, you could own multifamilies, you could build houses, you could sell houses. These are all within the world of real estate. And so what a lot of people who do have a substantial amount of money saved up, they have heard that real estate is the safest bet to invest your money. However, what they don't really understand, which I don't think that they understood, is flipping is not the safest bet, because you could win, but you could lose as well. Whereas though investing in multifamily and things like that, it's slower return, but that's the safer like bet long term. With that being said, he was taking money from just about anyone at these seminars. So they would throw seminars that DJ Envy would obviously help promote, and they would talk about all the houses that they flipped in the past, and if you gave them money, they would flip your money as well. However, what ended up happening is people were giving Cesar money and not seeing any return. Not only were they not seeing any return, there was no paperwork stating that they owned a house or the production was happening. Do you want to speak a little bit on how it was even possible, and I don't even know if you could speak on it, but how it was even possible to give someone this much money, and yet there doesn't seem to necessarily have to be an extensive report that like goes back to the person stating what's been done, what hasn't been done. Because what I saw was it was just all text messages like, oh yeah, work's being done, but there was no actual like
paper trail, basically.
Paper trail.
Yeah, I think pretty much when it comes to the investment side, right? I truly, for me personally, everybody knows that real estate, when it comes to, it's one of the direct sources to wealth building, right? So when you have all these individuals that's investing into doing flips and stuff like that, everybody's trying to build some form of wealth. Now, in terms of seeing a return, not seeing a return on what you're invested in, now that's the issue, right? And I think personally, when it came to these individuals, I think what happened was the trust factor that people really had in them, right? And even with that being said, I really don't, when it comes to money, I don't think at the end of the day, people should be trusting people when it comes to money at the end of the day. Like, I think there should be some form of contract in place. Once that contract's executed, you're going to want to, the way I was structured, if it was me, is, you know, follow up with those individuals that's invested in me. Hey, this is where I'm at currently with the project. Boom, bada bang. This is the next phase. Boom, bada bang. And then on top of that, I really think a good form of paper trail is basically what you do on social media. And you really didn't see anything that they were doing in terms of renovation projects to prove that they were actually doing something, you know? So I think the trust that people put into investors is, I think that's probably an issue that people shouldn't have conducted whatsoever, because you don't trust nobody with a large sum of money. Contract needs to be in place in some form of paper trail, whatever that looks like, between what you agree with that investor. That's a different story, but you should be able to see how your money is being invested or being played with.
Yeah. And so some of the facts of the case are he was taking money, stating that people that gave him the money he was going to use the money for certain properties, which wasn't the case, because he would have multiple people on the same property. That was one.
I heard that.
The second thing was he was talking about building on plots of land that he actually didn't own himself.
Wow.
Another stipulation was his return policy, the 30%. And now a part of me wants to see a side where, you know, maybe a couple of years ago, things were going so hot and so smooth that he could have done that. You know, he could have flipped it quick, gave it 30% and call it a day. But when the tide changes, you still have to be ready to fulfill the promise that you gave a couple of years back when you're telling people, oh, I'm going to give you 30% on your dollar. One of the unfortunate stories was there was a woman who received money from it was a lawsuit from a sexual assault. So she received this boatload of money, and she wanted to do the right thing by it. She wanted to make sure her and her son was straight. So just like everyone else that's been told, the safest thing and the thing that creates the most wealth is real estate.
Yeah.
So if you don't know anything about real estate, but you know DJ Envy, and you're seeing him post all this real estate stuff, A will connect to B. Okay, let me give my money to these real estate guys, and then I'll be straight. So with this all being said, now the fingers are starting to point at DJ Envy. Do you think that there should be any criminal charges against him, or do you think that him just saying, hey, here's the guy to talk to, I'm not personally going to do any business with you, this is the guy to talk to, and it was on their merit that they went and talked to the person? What do you think?
If I understand your question properly, I think pretty much, man, that's a tough area, right? But if you was to ask me, well, you're asking me, but if I was to give my straight up honest truth to it, as the people are getting scammed, DJ Envy and Cesar Pina, no matter how you look at it, they partners. You know what I mean? One ship goes down, the other has to go with it. Unfortunately, in situations like this, it's pretty much a Ponzi scheme. What they pretty much committed. You know, DJ Envy is what held the weight. You know what I mean? Because through first of all, he's an entertainer. I don't know much of what he knows about real estate. He really never spoke much about real estate. And I'm not saying that you can't learn about real estate, right? But he's always been known as an entertainer. You know what I mean? And bringing Pina on, Cesar Pina on, and partnering up like that, DJ Envy has the accolades, or the connection, should I say? And supposedly, quote unquote, Pina has the real estate experience. You know what I mean? And they both technically are a perfect marriage, because you could have one source that's the money, and the other source that has the knowledge. You know, you bring those two together, it is what it is. But with with DJ Envy backing Cesar up, to answer your question, it's fucked up to say. I don't know if I could swear, but like, yeah, you know, unfortunately, if the ship goes down, they both have to sink with it. You know.
And now, what if? And this is just kind of like giving some pushback. What if DJ Envy? What if like he was sponsoring other people? Like, you know, people pay for sponsorships all the time. So what if he's sponsoring something, and these people go to whatever he's sponsoring, and you know they get gypped or they have a bad time? Like, are they liable to suing DJ Envy for sponsoring the place, or how does that work?
Man, that's kind of tough, right? Because I want to say sue, but if you really technically think about it, you're tarnishing their name. You know what I mean? And yes, you guys sponsored DJ Envy's and Cesar's venture, you know, but the return was them to, you know, give you some form of sponsorship back. I'm not sure what that looks like, whatever that looks like to them. And if they deliver on that, they deliver on that. You know, it's that's a hard line to like even say. Like, damn. I guess it really depends on how bad their brand got tarnished. You know, if their brand was really tarnished really bad, I think personally maybe they should go ahead and, you know, file a lawsuit. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, businesses work hard to build a brand, and they're relying on you to push their brand. You know what I mean? And if you fall apart, it's almost like if an athlete does something, a lot of these companies that are sponsoring this athlete or whatever the case may be, they're pulling back.
Yep.
Same scenario, you know, just reverse. You know, so I guess that's how I look at it from that perspective.
Yeah. And how do you think this will impact the Breakfast Club? So the next time the Breakfast Club says, "Oh, this is this guy for banking," or "Oh, this is this guy,"
that's just done
in the tech world, you know, like Like, is their word worthless at this point now?
I think iHeartRadio specifically is going to be. I don't think they're going to allow. I don't think iHeartRadio or any form of outlet or radio station like that allow. I don't think they're going to allow individuals to use that platform to promote their own type of business. You know, because iHeartRadio is also they're feeling a potential lawsuit as well. You know, and they might even go through a lawsuit. You know, so it really depends on the investors that invested in these individuals. You know, talking to their lawyers or whatever direction their lawyers want to take, there might be a potential case where iHeartRadio gets affected.
And the real crazy thing is, the minute that it was reported that Cesar Pina was changing some of his properties and putting it into his kids' names, that's when you knew, like, okay, something's about that. Yeah. So on the topic of houses, it has been reported by multiple reports that it is, for one of the only times in America's history, a way better and safer bet to rent than own right now financially. Can you break down why people are saying that?
Man, I think personally it's because of the prices of homes has skyrocketed, interest rate. You know, those two together create like the perfect storm, right? The mortgage payment is higher, you know. So imagine having a mortgage. Let's say you own a single family home, right? And you have a $400,000 home. This is all hypothetical numbers that I'm just throwing out there. And on a $400,000 home, let's say your mortgage payment is like $3,800, right? If you rent out a single family home, you probably will pay less than what that mortgage payment is if you was to rent out a single family home, right? But obviously, all things take into consideration, location and all that other good stuff, you know, that plays a factor into it. But for the most part, even if you're buying a multi-family home, you know, your multi-family home, let's say your mortgage is about, with today's current rate, prices, let's say just hypothetically is about $5,000, right? Someone's renting might be a 3-bedroom right now, could probably cost, depending on the neighborhood, cost maybe $1,800. That's still solid. So would you rather pay $1,800 for rent, or would you rather pay what the current mortgage is? So for most people, or what's being announced out there right now, based on the studies that's going on, rent has become a more affordable situation for the even though we're seeing, or they saying that wealth amongst family owners, family homeowners has increased, but still just the fact of rent versus mortgage, your rent's going to pretty much be significant. I won't say significantly, but it's going to be lower than a mortgage.
So I can be ignorant with this thought, but you let me know if that's the case. Unfortunately, Rhode Island, right? We don't have a lot of wealth in Rhode Island, and a lot of the houses that are for sale and the multifamilies that are for sale, they're getting kind of eaten up by corporations and outside of Rhode Island people. Boston people are coming in at increased rates. Just like outsiders that wherever they live, their jobs, their market is all a lot higher than Rhode Island's. With that being said, what's going to happen, I guess, and it's hard for you to predict, but what's going to happen 5 years down the line when this trend increases of out-of-state people coming to Providence because it's cheaper, buying up the multifamilies, but then using the market rent / where they bought the house, how to make a profit, that rent? Because they're going to be charging Providence people that aren't making close to market rent. And that's already a problem. Now, but I can only see it getting worse in the future. I don't see jobs going up as lucrative as the market's going up, right? So what do you foresee happening?
One, I think home values, as long as nothing happens to the economy and if rates drop, I believe that home values are always going to go up regardless. Yes, it sucks because at the end of the day, I think they call migrants, right, in real estate, where like you have people that's from out of state either buying into the state, whatever the case may be. They don't want forcing the prices up, realistically speaking, and
I feel like, I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like that will never not be the case just because we will always be cheaper than Boston.
And we'll always be cheaper than Boston. We'll always be cheaper in some areas of Connecticut and definitely New York. Yeah. A lot of New Yorkers bought properties here in Rhode Island. A lot of Boston people bought properties here in Rhode Island. And they just keep forcing that price up. And as long as that's happening, unfortunately, you know, the people in Rhode Island, they're gonna pay that. It's already bad enough that the people in Rhode Island are being pushed out of that market, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. Because they really can't afford to buy the home that's already here. People in Boston can. Why? Right. Because they're used to seeing a 3-unit worth $1 million. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So they're used to that. Yeah. So to them, buying a 3-unit multifamily home here in Rhode Island for $600,000, it's nothing. It's a deal to them. You know what I mean? So, but the people in Rhode Island. Yeah, like nah.
But like, it's just because like the financial market and like the opportunity for growth in Rhode Island is stunted as. You know, the places outside Rhode Island, you know, sky's the limit, but it's not. It's really not like that in Rhode Island, for being real. But I'm just wondering how many people are gonna face like displacement and maybe need to go on government service and like increased rates for that, and what that will do crime wise, what that will do poverty wise, just because people are like, we always like say people can't afford to live, but I think like. If things keep going the way that they're going and the lack of new construction, people are legitimately going to be priced out of their homes. And it's to say it's like a landlord's fault, it's not really a landlord's fault.
You can't blame the landlord. Landlords are doing what they can.
Because, you know, for them purchasing the home at a higher price, they have to make ends meet as well.
Of course, they have to pay the mortgage. Exactly.
So it's one of those things where there's no one to blame. It kind of is what it is. But if something doesn't change soon, there's going to be a lot of homeless Providence people, in my opinion. And I don't know if that's an ignorant opinion, but in my opinion,
I think what's fair enough to say is there's going to be a placement shift, right? So those that can't afford to buy in Providence, they might shift to Woonsocket, you know what I mean, and stop buying out there. Why? Because maybe the cost of living in Woonsocket is a lot higher. I mean, cheaper. A lot less affordable. Yeah. So you might start seeing those type of placements,
Falls, stuff like that.
Not even Central Falls. Like Central Falls, like is revamping. You know what I mean? Central Falls is not what Central Falls used to be like. You know what I mean? That's kind of changing too. Multifamily home prices in that area is going up. Pawtucket. Forget the price of those, especially now with like the whole new train station being connected from Boston to Central Falls and so forth coming down. That right there, Central Falls is going to cause the prices of Central Falls homes to skyrocket, multifamily homes in Pawtucket to skyrocket, because now if you live in Boston, you have that commuter to go in and out of. You have that train station. Now it's going to be more. It makes sense for you to buy a home here in Rhode Island versus buying a multifamily home in Boston. You know, so yeah, you will start definitely see. You're already seeing the placements. You know, unfortunately, it does suck. We just have to try to find a way. I wish there was a way where like they could create affordable housing for people. You know, but I don't think we're going to see much of that happening. I mean,
do you think we have the space to do it?
I don't think we have the space, man. Looking for that, man. Providence, we barely have the land space for that shit. A lot of these builders and developers, they literally doing what they can to find land to build on. I was just talking to somebody recently that was saying that they think what's going to happen down the line is they're probably going to build upwards. right? Where versus trying to build horizontally.
So will there be like less stimulations on you being able to extend your property upwards then?
That's a good question. I can only imagine if he's saying that's the only way I could think about it. It only makes sense, right? In terms of how you could build upwards, right? But it makes sense because we don't have the space. So whatever space that we have, or lot space, should I say, we're gonna have to do our best to try utilize that, you know what I mean, to our advantage, but at the same time to serve the people in the best way possible, you know? So yeah, like I definitely think that's what's gonna happen moving forward, man. There's not enough land out here, unfortunately.
Also, it's an interesting duality between people not being able to afford rent, people not being able to afford purchasing the high value houses, and also when houses do hit the market, they get grabbed up quickly. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
I think for the most part, if it's like a 3-unit multifamily home and the price makes sense and it's in good condition, it's definitely going to fly off the market. It's going to fly off the shelf, should I say. Especially when you have individuals who's looking to live in maybe in 1 unit and rent out the other 2 units,
right,
just to be able to either break even on their mortgage or at least try to have some type of residual income coming in on a monthly basis, you know. I think that's when you start seeing those type of homes fly off the market. I do believe that if the homes are not flying off the market, prices of homes are the seller's going to be forced to drop the prices, right? Just so it can make sense with the interest rate, right? And I think when people start seeing prices drop down on homes, if it does, I think that's when a buyer's going to be like, you know what? This price of this home drop, it makes sense for what I could afford, and then you'll start seeing those type of homes pick up. But if the property is in great condition and you can make money off it, if it's a multifamily home, that property is going to fly off the shelf. Mm.
And so for the person out there that has always wanted to get into real estate, has heard the good things about it, but you know, is having a hard time adjusting to the new market, figuring out how they're going to be able to save a boatload of cash to put it down on their first investment property. What do you believe is the easiest route to get into real estate?
As a potential buyer or investor?
Either or.
If you're a potential buyer, if you have the cash to play with and you want to get into the real estate space as someone who wants their first investment property, I'll say look into a potential 3-unit multifamily home. If the price makes sense and if what you could potentially take in.
So when you say the price makes sense to you, because I feel like it might mean different things to different people, to you, would that mean break even or get a return, or you have to get a return?
I think personally, if you're breaking even, you're good.
Okay.
As long as you're breaking even. I think any business you do, if you're breaking even, you're solid.
Because you're still winning.
You're still winning.
The equity part.
You're still winning. You're still being able to pay your mortgage. You know what I mean? Yeah, you might not see a return, but your mortgage is being paid.
And you're living.
Right.
Yep.
And you're living. And maybe some of that money you factored in like overhead expenses. And if all that's factored in, and you're Gucci, you know. Yeah. Now if you're making a residual income, you're golden.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And so for your experience, typically, say if someone buys a multifamily, whether to live in or not to live in, what is typically the general profit per month that person is able to take home after paying off expenses?
Man, on the multifamily home, if I was to say, right, right now, between the way price is, it might be a little tight, right, in terms of what your project profit margin could be. I remember in the beginning or a few years back, they used to say if you could make $100 per door or $150 per door, you're golden. You know, you're safe. But now I feel like your profit margin has to be more. You know, but with the way prices are and everything like that, I feel like that's going to be tight. You know what I mean? I feel like that profit margin is really, really going to be tight.
So if you had to give like a number between what and what would you say?
Man, if you could, if I was to say if you can make $100 per door right now after your overhead expenses is taken out, your mortgage taken out, I think you're fine. You know what I mean? I think $100 per door is a tight space right now compared to when people were buying multifamily homes about 2 years ago with a low interest rate. My boy, man, one of my boys that I know right now, he's making $2,600 a month, and he bought his first multifamily
after paying his mortgage.
After paying his mortgage, and he bought the price. The price was high, but his rate was stupid low. What he was charging for rent is allowing him.
Is it a 3-family or?
I think his might be a duplex. I think I'll double check, but I'm almost positive his. I was literally just talking to him today. Wow. You know what I mean? And another boy of mine. I help him buy a multifamily home right off of Douglas Ave in Providence, and it's 2 units, it's 3 floors, 2 units, 1 bedroom. I think he's making about $1,700, right? After everything's said and done. Now, to make that type of money right now, I feel like that's going to be a little difficult to do with the way interest rates are and the way the home prices are. I don't think you're going to see that type of profit margin unless you put a significant amount of money down.
Yeah. And what I will say is I do feel like multifamily real estate is the slow, progressive way to go, especially if you're not trying to get into real estate per se, and you just want something that has passive income. It's one of the best decisions I made, and a lot of people I talk to, it's definitely like their kind of like best decision that they made as well. Also, you just never know what the market's going to do. It might seem high right now, but it might stay high. So you also don't want to waste time on waiting it for drop because it might not ever happen.
I think that's the one thing that people are misconstruing, right? Is that if you could buy right now, you know, and it makes sense for you to buy. Why? Because at the end of the day, a home's always going to bring value. Yeah. I look at homes almost like a bank, right? And like, if you could do it, do it. If you can't do it, rent. And there's no shame in renting. There's no shame, you know, not being able to buy a home. Yeah. You know, but if you can do it, just know that at the end of the day, you are in a good position. Yeah. You know, because that house could build equity for you. Mm-hmm. So if you could do it, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you for stopping by today to break some of the things down and hopefully motivate some people to save up some cash and get into a real estate game. Where can people find you?
Listen, I'm all over social media, man. So my personal page is Sadiq Davies on Instagram, SADIQ DAVIES. And I also have a podcast platform called The Network as well, which is THENETWRK.co on Instagram also. So you can follow me on either page, and if you have any questions, listen, like at the end of the day, I'll always be open to answer any questions you may have.
So he's right about that. So any questions, anything regarding real estate, any possible deals that you're looking for, this is definitely one of the people that I recommend you go to.
Appreciate it.
Hit him up. He'll definitely answer back. Sadiq Davies, thank you for coming, man.
Let's go.